Hopefully we are back now. On the right, do we have a value bet? I think probably not. Pot size jam after not bang the turn. Sure, we'll have some king queen here, but it just seems a little fishy. Double suited kings on the right. Pretty nice hand. Pretty bad flop. Definitely going to check back here with obviously the net backdoor flush draw. And some decent blockers, obviously, and some nutted equity too. Up some more outs, and I still think that we just want to check back here. And we do have showdown value, no need to bluff. You are in the ace. Double paired aces on the left. Let me get a squeeze. Up top set, no diamond. This is going to be like minimal amount of sets in our opponent's range that are going to connect with this board. Against half pot, we do have the odds to call with top set, depending on the action. And definitely want to call here. This guy rarely has nut flushes that he's going to be able to raise over the top. So we're getting a good price. Do not boat up, unfortunately. And we get the raise 3-bet. I don't think that we get to fold. Obviously, if this guy shut, well, there's no good scenario. All right, well, here's a here we go. No gamble, no future. All looking good. We need to void half the deck. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, spade, ace, deuce, deuce. Oh my goodness. No gamble, no future. Three hearts and a pair blocker and some future straight blockers. Don't mind raising. Obviously this is a limp pot, so I think it was a limp pot. On this turn, obviously going to be pretty bad for my range. When I do block pairs, all the hearts, and the straight comes in, and we don't have any straight blockers. Against this, I think we are going to call. Good on. Given that this is basically never the straight. The run out gets worse. The run out gets worse and worse. On the left, not going to be a very high c-bet board for me, and with just the gut shot, going to be folding here with 3 players behind, and very nice double suited, double paired aces on the right. I'm not slow playing many aces, ace combos in Russian cash, just because people aren't really raising enough behind. And this, even though this obviously looks pretty terrible, I pretty much am bang range on this board and going to be folding here. And a nice spot on the left where we get to jam in for a pretty deep amount. Against the kings with a 10. Looking to avoid a king, 10, or queen with a scoop. Oh, rough. Dream scenario. And we get punished. We get one caller here. We are kind of deep. And we do block a spade, top set. No lead outs. I mean, it's tough. Tough here with a spade blocker and a king on board. I think I do want to bet to get some values from king king. I mean, it just seems like we're only playing aces at the moment. Getting some value from king king as we a potential sick cooler on the right, and against this guy, stack to pot ratio of 2. We're just going to go ahead and jam and call it off with a gut shot. And small bet on the right, setting up a river jam. I have a feeling we might run into quads here, to be honest. But can't just fear the quads all day. Hopefully a hand like king queen. Or ace x with spades that we're looking to call from. We haven't been snapped, so unless we're being slow rolled, we are good. He does fold, and we just have aces again. I don't really know what's going on, but I'm not complaining. Given that we block queen and a 10, some of the other pairs, I guess we do unblock a king. We can go for value here and call a raise with the backdoor flush draw, and unblocking all of the straight draw bluff type hands. And pretty beautiful turn. Just going to be betting small. Obviously against this SPR, we can just get stacks in. On this particular turn, I think it's a decent turn to go ahead and bluff. I think we hear from a 10 usually at this point, by at least the cutoff and button. And blocking nut spades. Obviously a good opportunity to go ahead and bet. Without having a diamond here, this board just we have to fold equity to be bluffing, and we obviously do have some outs that we can hit, like this one. That falling on the right. And we block the lower straight, but we do unblock diamonds, so I think a small bet here is fine. And going to be raising here on the button to isolate, especially given that we're this deep. Pretty dry flop. Do with a gut shot back to a flush draw. I'm gonna have a relatively high c-bet frequency on a dry board like this after I 3-bet. And not a turn card that I will go ahead and barrel. Given that we have a king in our hand as well, Queen X is a huge portion of his calling range on the flop. Yeah, and it looks very likely that he does have Queen X. So we fold. Well, they'll have a high c-bet frequency on against the big blind anyway, and blocking the ace, definitely. We want to go ahead and c-bet. Start building a pot. And leading out on this board, given that we have Jack Jack 8-8, it just seems quite likely that he's bluffing. So I'm there actually. I'm just a flat call. And now I expect a decent amount of jacks when he bets with like a plus straight draw. And given that we don't have a diamond, I'm actually going to raise now. And sure, we can get free roll sometimes without diamonds, but given that we have 8-8 and Jack Jack, we make that much more unlikely, and more likely that we're against some sort of lower straight draw plus flush draw set and draw type of hand. Let me unblock all the pairs. And then pretty standard 3-bet against the button on the right. Given my particular blockers, I actually don't mind c-betting this hand. We will have a decent amount of checks. But most of the hands that he's going to be able to continue with there contain parent straight draws against my range. When we actually block those, it's very nice to go ahead and lead. Pretty wide defend, honestly. But with this player behind and this particular player raising, I don't mind calling here with the kings. And if we get checked too, this is actually a hand that I'm going to go ahead and stab. We often have the best hand. We are basically dead against raising ranges, and the King of Hearts here is pretty nice to have. Here on the left, just gonna be check calling flop and taking it from there. Not really gonna be putting much money in with this particular hand. And we could potentially lead here, given that it was a straight board, but we do have a very weak flush. And against a check back, I would potentially value bet some rivers, given that there are a lot of straights out there. I just don't think that he really has any bluffs now at this point. So if we do face another bet, I will actually fold. Yeah, they should just check back a ton of showdown value. And against a couple of wider players, I am actually going to squeeze these kings out of position, just to try and get a lower SPR on the flop, especially with a short stack caller, and obviously folding to the 4-bet here. Just a hand that's like often likely ahead, and that is better at a low SPR, especially when you're out of position. You can get rid of that positional advantage. In position, you can definitely flat there. And pretty much bang range on this board after a limp call. And moving against EP, we're going to be rebetting this hand, especially deep. And unblocking straight draws and pots, we go ahead and bet. There's not going to be too many top twos that we check back in this scenario. Actually a good turn card for our range. Not for our particular hand, obviously. Thing is, if we check here, there's not that many hands that we're excited about. Do unblock all of the draws. Even some hands that we're now behind, like queens and kings, could potentially find a fold. And pretty terrible river. If he raises most 6x, I think we have to bet here in case he does have a hand like queens and a straight draw. Which would be a gross hand to check back. It looks like he potentially does have a hand like queens. Is he going to find the fold? He does not. Unfortunate. And not really paying attention here. Don't really think these kings are a 3-bet, even though this guy is quite wide. And now getting this price. I mean, we could probably still fold, to be honest. Can't fold now, so just gonna ship it in. Hopefully fold out some equity. Yeah, flipping. Doesn't want it. Jack 8, king, or spade. Please. And ship it. Pot size bet on the right, on the blank. Still unblocking a ton of draws. We actually did just bluff this guy, and obviously he binks it on the river. We're going to run into a flush so often here with anti-blockers and blocking straight draws that he can have. So just going to check fold. Pretty good turn on the left. Honestly, still probably don't want to be betting here. Our range isn't going to have too many bets out of the big blind. Against this sizing, we're never folding. Still a bunch of draws out there. I mean, did we just river the nets? I guess like queens with hearts, jacks with hearts. Those would be the type of hands we are targeting with a bet. I don't see queens folding, or maybe not even jacks. But obviously, strong likelihood one of these players has an ace. I mean, can we fold to this sizing though? That's the question. Don't think that we can. We lose to only quads. But, I mean, most of the time here it is just quads. Thank you so much, GG. You're so kind. So kind. What is up, Ratch? I honestly, I do not coach PLO 5. I do occasionally play it in some of the app games, but definitely not a game that I'm an expert in by any means. So I do not have any PLO 5 coaching, unfortunately. If you are looking for somewhere that does, check out PLO Mastermind. Those guys definitely do and have a ton of content and a ton of pros playing that week in, week out. So I know that they're making a bunch of good content. I do still watch some of the 5-card stuff as it is still interesting. So definitely check that out, and you can use my link as well. And here we're just gonna fold. You can use my link, and you can get some cool free stuff and sessions with me if you sign up via that link. That's in the comments below, and that's for anything. That's for 4, 5, 6, whatever you're using with them. Bang on right with some blockers and just very weak ranges. I think most people don't continue there without an 8 or like 5, 6, 7. So it's a nice way to just take down some small pots that people aren't really fighting for. Pretty good board to see that on the right, blocking straight draws. Made hands already with a bunch of cards we count turns, this being one of them. Blocking a diamond, obviously being a relative blank. And on the left, just going to be calling with no real back, the not flush draw. And betting a pair is pretty worthless. Against a small sizing, we're going to be calling, or a small sizing. We can definitely bluff some rivers, but not when we river the nuts. We can just ship it. And blocking the ace on the turn likely has straights or flushes here. So I think just using a large sizing, I expect to get called by Jack High, Queen High Spades, and overcalling a marginal hand here out of the big blind. Flopping pretty well. And don't see enough kind of bluff leads and stabs here, so I'm gonna go ahead and bet myself. And we obviously are not folding here. This guy's probably not going to fold either, unfortunately, but very deep with a connected double suited hand. Won't be folding the flop. Do we want to stab? Just don't think we get any overpairs to fold, and don't particularly want to blow the pot at this point. This card is probably like, I'm now actually like doing the best. If you think about this guy's cold call range, it's not going to include much like 4-6. Unfortunately, we don't have spades, and this guy obviously with some of the aces have like ace-4 type hands. We do get jammed on, which is the problem of making this play without having spades. And we'll just be check calling on the right. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, if pretty bad river for us on the right, we could check raise. We'll have some king X that he checks down. Yeah, so in terms of the PLO mastermind, the PLO trainer, I agree, most people are not utilizing that to its full extent, and for me it's the best one out there for multiple reasons, because it is the easiest one to use, figure out what solver is doing from a theory standpoint instead of just like learning what's going on, instead of like just like learning actions. And although I don't teach 5 card, one thing that I am, very proficient at, from a 4 card perspective, but it translates very well, is figuring out why the solver is doing particular stuff with different techniques within the PLO. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely reach out to me. I can definitely help you with that. So yeah, no, I appreciate you kind of using the link when you next do subscribe, and yeah, just shoot me a message when you plan on doing that, and we'll figure out, depending on what you sign up for, what you actually get from me in terms of the bonus. But if you are looking for live stuff, they do have a ton of live stuff. So they have hired live, like exclusively live PLO pros that are teaching and making videos about playing live, what sort of adjustments you need to be making, that sort of stuff. Pretty much a range bet here after 3-betting on the right, and we'll likely be tripling off on a ton of runouts with this hand. Ah, yes. If you are not getting rake back online is very tough. Don't have too much going on here. I'm tempted to pot, but we can't really pot fold. We could bet small and fold, but maybe it's just best to check back, to be honest, in position. And on the right, nothing but a gut shot, just going to fold to a pot-sized donk out of the small. Quite weird. And then again, probably just checking back here on this turn. He will have a ton more flush, like better flush draws in his range after I check back. Obviously, we're not folding, but often run into a better flush. That. I think with the Queen of Diamonds here makes a good c-bet. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna check back this turn. And then snap large bet. Oof. On this board, I'm actually just gonna c-bet like really small, like 10 BB maybe. And I think we can actually fold to that when this guy jams. One off on the right. Usually the kind of snap bet is often something like where you don't have a decision to make, right? And I think people take a bit more time there and think about the sizing and what they want to actually bet when they have the nut flush there, whereas the nut flush blocker is often an auto bet as people over bluff and continue with it. And it's going to check raise on the left. A little bit out of line. But I obviously have more of the deuces. And not great when we get called. U-turn a wrap, which does give us some equity against a deuce. If we check back now, we're likely not going to see a river. I'm just going to go small. We will get flowed by a deuce. We'll have some equity. We'll get raised a bunch too. And at this point, I don't really see anybody calling twice here with draws, unless they're big combo draws, which we obviously block a ton of. And I don't see him folding a deuce on this river. So I think that we just want to give up. And on the right, pretty awkward. We could check jam, I guess. We have some value in seeing free cards. It does go check check. I think I might actually take that line. And on this turn, given that he caps himself and this is the ultimate blank, I am going to go ahead and pot. I don't expect him to be checking back any sort of two pair. He can definitely still call with some like marginal spade draws that we want to deny equity to. And we can't fold. I guess we're just shipping it in. Does check back Queen Jack, which is wild. Wild out here, wild. 10-5 or ace. Not us. That is us. Better to be lucky than good. Obviously call it min-res on the right, and up nice and marginally. Pretty nice turn. We will have a lot of checks on this particular turn, and given that we have the 10 of spades in our hand, I don't checking. Yeah, hopefully we find some aggression. Obviously we're going for the check raise, and we get pretty rough river. And I think on the left we do want to go ahead and bet with our queen blockers some not straight out like that. Could potentially check call on the left. With 2 spades here, I am going to go ahead and use a large sizing. I think we get called by weaker straight draws more easily, given that he'll be unlikely to have spades and find small calls like that. In the last live stream about win rates when I've been streaming, I said I thought we would probably break even, and that was about right. I think we were down, it was close to about 10,000 hands, and we were down about $100 before rake back, and then I think like 350 or something like that post rake back. So I think it was something like 3.5 BB 100, 4 BB 100, like that. In terms of the win rate after rake back, which it's a very small sample of hands, but I wouldn't think that you're going to get, I wouldn't expect much higher than that, to be honest. Given that my rake and BB per 100 is like 17 BB 100 or something silly like that. And here, I'm gonna check back many flushes. You have showdown value if he bets for mind, and we could check raise, but fortunate river. So likely a value. That bet on the flop. I think we call obviously with the backdoor flush draw, and then a bunch of turns that we get aggressive on, like this one. And I don't love checking back here. It just really limits our options on the river, so don't mind going for a 3/4 sizing. This guy is super loose. Everybody else is passive and weak behind. So I actually don't mind using here. We river jack. don't think, even with blockers around both ends, we want to do anything here. I think we just check back. And here I'm going to go very small. And call it off if this guy shoves, and obviously fold if this guy gets involved. And that is an unfortunate turn. 8 king or 3. Please? Not it. So just going to check call here on the left. And whether or not we want to bluff, probably not. This, though, is a pretty weird sizing. Problem is, what sizing can we use to then jam rivers, because it's going to be too short and the board's too dynamic, so I'm actually just going to give it up. But I very much don't believe that sizing. Like, it can be like a pair and gut shot. This guy's pretty wild. Only 3 hands, but getting stuck in. Oh, I didn't see he was that short, actually. Flop the set over set. And on the left, we could look to check raise this hand with a gut shot, backdoor wrap, and a flush draw. When he checks back, we will have some leads on flushing turns, likely for a small sizing. We do want to bet on blocking all of the pairs. And scream when we get 3-bet by a short stack with the aces. Clubs, baby. See 1 club. I see 2 clubs with a gut shot. Can we win some aces on aces violence? Not looking promising. Hit him! And what a flop. This guy's pretty wide, but he's not rebang too much, and this end is likely not even an open, to be honest. When we get called, especially by this guy. Or we do block queens and jacks, which isn't great, but we do unblock kings. Start paying for some value. I don't think we get raised too often there. It's not that believable that it hits his range too hard. Blocking top pair, that just limits more of the hand that we're gonna get action from. So we're just gonna check here. Leading on the left just because board smashes my range. And a pot size bet, 19 BB behind. Okay. I mean, he's ever folding a 9. Obviously, we block some straight draws. I don't think that we can fold. So I guess we check and allow him to bluff. Guess is the most potential profitable way. I mean, he might have like queen 9 or 10-9 at this point, though. I'm not sure what hand he like pots the flop and then checks back turn. Unless he has jack queen. Jack queen kind of makes sense, so I'm actually just gonna like bet small, fold. Probably could have bet smaller here, to be honest, but we're targeting one very specific hand. With this guy in the big blind, I am actually going to come along back to get a ton calls from him and probably a check back, maybe, but we do have a club blocker and can obviously call a raise. And this particular hand with 10-10, I think makes a decent bet here. We get raised. I think fold. I mean, that's kind of why we were betting, is that this hand doesn't play very well on many. You can have some very strong draws that we don't block out of the big blind. So I'm thinking more about his position and calling range. Maybe not the best stab there without particular blockers, even though not a great hand to play turns with. Could argue to raise against the min raise, but EP range is just dominating really hard. We have rainbow. play against this guy in position. And given that we block an ace and have the ace of diamonds, this bet's a little scarier, and we don't block any of the flush draws. Oh, gonna give it up. And I'm going to call here on the left. I'm bluffing a few turns. Then when he bets half pot, again, still gonna call, and then some of the straightening runouts, we will bluff. I think with the 6, we probably have to call. Gonna have king king a bunch here. So it'd be nicer to have a king. The running boat, fantastic. Stop thinking player is going to check raise me good more than they should, probably, on this particular board. And without a diamond, I think we're just checking back, hoping to connect. Do not. And I'm gonna have a ton of checks, or probably range to be honest, on this board. And with this particular hand, probably gonna check call depending on sizing. Against pot size, just gonna fold. Do we want to raise? Not really. This guy's gonna come along. Playing in pots with this particular player is the likely plus EV, and we'll obviously call this raise unless this guy goes ahead and comes. Doesn't 3-bet crazy amount, so pretty good flop. This guy seems somewhat aggressive. This is a decent board to check jack with. I don't think he'll have too many leads, to be honest, so we could just bet. Instead of checking back and playing like some awkward turns. We're obviously not folding at this SPR. The pair nut flush draw. But we can definitely get called by hands that we dominate. And so I guess we're shipping it in. 10-10-3, we flop the boat, block spades, we just block everything. So I am going to check here. There's tank calling for the 1 BB remaining. It's just so likely this is a bluff. Don't really want to raise. And we do get it in with a hand that we dominate. Miss the turn. Parent card, not so fun. And we brick off. Again, here on the river, I just don't know that he's going to have many bluffs, to be honest. after he checks back turn. We definitely don't want to miss value from like a 10. Actually, we'll just go for small sizing. And rep like a flush that we called on the flop. And he might have some bluffs, even though we do block one of the best hands to bluff with. Hello, my friend, and welcome to the chat. Appreciate your comments on the shorts, dealing with some people that didn't know what was going on, so it was nice to have someone in there that didn't know what was going on. I don't know not sure what to call you. I don't know what the symbols mean, but welcome. Glad to see you in the live stream chat. You can make an argument to call here. Very weak. Do we want to 3-bet here? Closing the action. Call. No leads on this board, very dry. And actually just going to fold. If we get squeezed here, I might actually 4-bet bluff this hand. Pretty good candidate when the pot is this big. So I think that people are going to have too many stabs on this board. It's not obviously great for my raising range, so I am going to check jam. Hopefully this guy shoves. Guy goes pot. And you can tell I'm losing sleep. I thought we had the nut flush draw here. So I am actually just going to call. This jam won't reopen the action. And turning the nuts is nice. So we do want to value bet here against spades, which are his more likely hands or sets. Ace, ace, king on this dynamic board. I think I'll just check call. So just going to like 3/4 pot. And terrible river. Given that we have spades in our hand. But we're not folding, so I may as well shove. Snap large bet. I'm kind of tempted to jam. Oh, to call and fold like spade rivers. And just doesn't really make sense. Not a great river. Not a great river. But we're obviously calling, blocking the value range. I mean, he's saying that he has a boat effectively on the turn. Might even check back a jack. Those have the nizzles. We get called and turn an ace. I'm just gonna continue betting, to be honest. We could go pot pot. It's gonna be quite likely that he has a flush when he calls the flop. Pretty good flop. I'm gonna use a smaller sizing with some blockers here. We do induce the ship. That was nice. And 96.34% equity. Check mark on the turn. Get a stack back. With no backtop flush draw, probably we'll just check fold on this board. And with a bunch of decent turns and no club, checking back on the left. Pretty bad turn. So we'll just be folding to a probe here. Trying not to snap track back. I'm not going to open this with such a loose button player. And in position deep against this player, we'll be calling here with marginal hand. And he's somewhat aggressive. Just want to call here. And with 3 clubs, when this guy just calls behind. I am actually going to bet, unblocking all of the pairs, try and get some value. Feels really unlikely that someone would flop the nut flush when we have 3 clubs, but who knows? So against quite a wide range here, we could not dominating too many hands that we get it in against. And just gonna bet small on the turn. I don't expect to get bluff raised too much. Don't expect this guy to have too much 4-5. This guy I'm a little more worried about. But here's a player left act behind him. Could argue for betting small here, but and then folding to a raise. Yeah, I don't mind it. With the backdoor flush draw, I mean, not ideal. We do get check raised. Take it down. I will be right back. What is up, Rolfus? Wait, are you the guy that's playing right now? For some reason that name looks familiar that I just played a pot against. Maybe I'm just making things up, but I appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words. My usual stakes are 2-5 and 5-10, depending if there's good games and where the action is. We had a very good session today, playing some juicy 2-5 6 max games. Took like seven buy-ins or so. It was very nice. The weekend. On the right, just going to check back with the nut flush blocker. I think we could potentially call here and floor action with a couple of good blockers and some decent turnouts. That's not one of them. A decent card for my check call range, not for my hand, fortunately. Calamity, what is up? Welcome to the chat, my friend. Bowling to a pot-sized bet. How is the no PLO going, Calamity? Have you held strong? Actually, I'm just gonna limp here on the button. Hopefully getting this guy to come along. And checking back with 2 backdoor flush draws, you could argue for a bet, given that there are a ton of good turns you can barrel, but I just think the fold equity is kind of minimal. I'm gonna raise ace king king deuce up here, play a bit deeper in position, and honestly would probably fold to a 4-bet. And on this turn, I am actually going to raise with likely the best hand, and then some straight outs too, unblocking spades. Oh boy. Not running too hot. On the right, he can have some ace-x hands. So I think that I want to check back here. Obviously very unlikely that we're running into 7. I just don't know what we get value from. Kind of not the best river now, because his ace-x hands may have called. I guess we maybe get some action from queens. And then we get check jammed on by quads. Did you call me with the queens, Rolfus? Was that you? As if that was you, we gotta have some words. Do we click it back against this guy? Yes, he has it, or he has it set and picked up hearts. Probably a little shallow to be pulling off this move, but I don't believe that that's a straight there with the check raise. But can't get anyone to fold today apparently. Yeah, I mean the swings at those levels are basically, I mean the variance is pretty much the same, right? So all you do is think about the 10 buy-in losing days you have at PLO, 25 or PLO 10, and yeah, times that dollar amount by a lot. I mean, you easily, you can easily lose like 10K in a day. On this board, I think probably going to check call, since we have some decent turns like this. And yeah, just gonna check call again. It would be kind of upsetting to get raised with this hand. Pot size bet. Wrapping the jack 8. Do somewhat block it. You could potentially call this hand a bluff catcher if clubs miss, but doesn't matter. River Z-nizzles. The question is, do we check? Given that we don't have clubs and we block a bunch of showdown value, I don't mind checking here. Snap checks back. The low straight maybe. Gives up with the 8. 2000 BB above EV. Even though I'm not going to get 3-bet too often, and we're going to be deep with this guy, I do want to play this pot. Ace 8 7 6 double suited in terms of 4-betting is pretty nice. You unblock the 3-bet folds. When I just call here, I think I do want to check back, and there's a ton of turns that we can bluff, and we do have some backdoor equity. And obviously against the Benares we fold. Yeah, the hand was pretty sick, Rolfus. The hand was pretty sick. I mean, I don't know if you were watching the stream, but for basically the last 2 streets of the hand, I was like, okay, this guy has queens. He should fold queens. Let's get it to fold queens. But nice call, my friend. Nice pot. Nice hand. I'm gonna go back though, and I'm gonna check on the video. I'm gonna see how long that hand went on for. Because 3 minutes. 3 minutes isn't that long. Oops, didn't mean to 3-bet over here. Misclick. So obviously this board doesn't interact well with our range, but we're gonna have a ton of pairs with flush draws, and he shouldn't have too much that connects here, right? Either, because he's raising from EP and calling, and I know he's a little looser, but like, is he gonna have 4, 5, 6 that often in his range? He shouldn't. And then obviously just folding to a jam, given that we just have a gut shot. Like, for example, this was ace 9, 8, 7 double suited. I would be quite tempted to go ahead and all bet bluff, but not quite connected enough. And this range is like crazy strong. Check the flop. Just, it's so hard for him to connect when we block that much. But on the turn, some straight draws and flush draws kind of come in, so going to take a stab, but no luck. And again, deep at this guy in the big blind, a hand with some very nutted equity. Definitely want to play here. I'm going to be checking here. This would be kind of a very gross spot to get raised, and We obviously have great blockers to the continuing range, but at the same time, we have a lot of equity. What size betting a call? It's just our equity against a straight, and then our outs against a straight are somewhat tainted, given the clubs. I should have a decent amount of checkbacks on this board. People get a little carried away with c-betting in position 3-bet pots. I'm just kidding, Rolf. I'm just kidding. I mean, that's the whole point. I wanna put you in some tough spots, but yeah. The brave call, so I like it. I like it. That's what happens, Calamity. The poker site knew you were thinking about quitting, and you know they just rigged the RNG so that you could think a ton of stacks. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not rigged. But that's cool. I'm glad you had a better experience to end if you are actually stopping for a little bit. And yeah, I would say you can still be, you know, obviously very involved in the game. I mean, you can play lower stakes, you can like study, you can watch a ton of poker, you can do a bunch of stuff to improve your game without actually having to go through the tilt. Yes, I do have to agree that Hold'em is very, very boring. Check. I think I probably just want to fold, to be honest. Alright, Rolfus, have a good night, sir. Good playing against you. We'll see you back in the GG streets soon. I'm gonna watch out for you now that I know who you are. Not much 3-betting action behind, so again, we'll just raise it up. And a pretty good flop, I think. And I guess there are straight draws out there which are not ideal, but I think checking back is okay here. Some of these bad boards we do have to have more of a check back frequency when they are suited, connected, and around the bet calling range pre-flop, which obviously Queen X is. Not looking good on the turn. Obviously not folding to half pot, but once he takes this line, he's not gonna find too many bluffs. Like he's basically thinking that I have aces. And here it gets a little tricky. You can definitely have like King X with hearts. Oh. He doesn't bluff that hand though. So, not blocking a pair. It honestly feels like he's trying to get me to fold aces. Yeah. Probably a bad call, but honestly, I see a decent amount of bluffs in that spot. But feels a little punty after the fact. This board's probably just too coordinated. Having a fold equity to bet a marginal hand like this. And with some overcards here, decent hand to check back. Hands like that. Still don't really want to bet, to be honest. We'll wait till we river the nuts. And I guess bet small and look to induce. Or get called by a straight. But no love, no love. Honestly, against the small size in this guy's opening range, don't mind actually coming in for the squeeze here. And then with our particular hand, I think, we can bet smaller here, but I'm just gonna pot stack off with overs to ace 8, a spade blocker, and a gut shot. This is how I would play my aces. And on a very dry board on the left, not ideal that we get a caller against the large sizing, but there's so many good turns. With our hand, that not being one of them. And we don't have any straight blockers here, but I kind of have probably the most uncapped range after this checks through. I am actually going to take a stab here. I think I get a lot of respect, and there shouldn't be too much 5-8, but we shall see. A little out of line. Let me get called by a set. I mean, nobody's folding today. Nobody's folding today. Makes me sad. maybe the wrong player type to do that against. I think probably most people, when you lead large into a multi-way pot, are going to find a fold there with bottom set. Kakarandalin. I'm not sure what flops you're talking about in terms of c-betting to get info. I'm on a 3-minute delay, so gonna be many hands ago. So let me know what flop / hand you were talking about, and if you're c-betting for information, get a call here. Well, if you're c-betting for information, that usually means you're probably stabbing too merged, and you could mean anything by c-betting for information, but just when I kind of hear that, that's usually what I think of. So I'll be interested what board / hand you were actually talking about. Opening so wide. Guess we just call. And I think probably lead. And just bet fold. Because he's not like doing this with like jack high flush draw. And we don't really have any other connectivity or backup. Again, not sure what is his hand. You're referencing Kakarandalin. Sorry, it's really hard to like remember specific hands, given that we're playing like 350 hands an hour. So I think that there is still some lag on my end, not sure, so apologies if that is the case, because it's kind of tilting me. Probably gonna play these two aces hands and then wrap it up. And on 7-8-8, we'll obviously connect hard with his range. So I think we do have some checks here. We do have a 6, which does help. That's large. I don't think we get to fold. We can cool it again. Oh yeah, he had like, I think he turned the boat. I think he had like king queen. I guess he had like pocket 7s or something. Kind of rough. Okay, that is going to be it for me, guys. I will put a post out on my channel to give you guys some information about the live study session that we're going to do next week. So you can jump into that, you can submit some hands, and I will review them live and with you, and yeah, there'll be no delay, so we can talk a little more easily about specific spots, etc. But that is going to be it from me. So thank you for tuning in, and good luck at the test.